Okay. So maybe I don't think we really covered it very well. So why don't you explain this thing about assets that count?
Okay, the assets that count, again, well, it's easy to say what doesn't count.
Yeah.
The home does not count, and your personal property, like cars, the stuff in your house.
Okay.
That's what doesn't count. The stuff that you need to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if you own the Hope Diamond, that's going to count.
Okay.
I mean, so there's
That's almost
it's
that's
sort
a side thing. It's not a diamond that you wear. It's a diamond that you have as an investment. Yeah.
right. It's yes. If you have invested type of property,
Yeah.
or even if you want to wear it, can't imagine someone wearing that big of a diamond. But if it's reasonable, basically the VA talks about reasonableness. So most people, it's not a problem. All their personal possessions, their personal effects, the household furniture and furnishings, their cars. Now if they own a fleet of cars as an investment, collectors of antique cars and stuff, we might have a problem with some of those. They might count. Again, they're more of an investment than for their personal use.
Okay.
Everything else then is countable.
Okay, good, thanks. So mostly investment type items, we're saying cash and investments. And
Money in the bank.
Yeah, okay. Now,
And other real estate. estate.
so real estate other than your residence.
Other than
and
your
that again, that would
residence.
usually be considered almost like an investment, although
Correct.
some people do have second homes, vacation
Correct.
homes.
Second homes would be a problem.
Okay. Now, so let's say that you want to do this conversion. We talked about maybe giving away some assets, maybe making gifts to kids or what have you. So, how would you go about it, and is there like a time frame that you're dealing with?
Well, for VA benefits, the VA doesn't, what they call look back, and this is a concept that comes from Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal has a look back period of, in California, 30 months. So what you've done with your assets in the last 30 months, they look at and see if you've given them away or what you've done. In VA, that concept doesn't exist. So what you do before you apply is not taken into consideration. Now, there is a little bit of new twist. A few months ago, the VA came out with a new form, and on that form, in the instructions, it asks the claimant to provide information about all gifts they've ever made.
Oh.
I mean, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, ever? So, and how big and everything. What we think that they're trying to get at is to try to determine if someone's given away their assets, but they really haven't. So they gave it to a child who might be, there are some limits on who you can give it to. You cannot give it to a relative who lives in the same household with you.
Okay.
So if you give it to that person before you apply, how are they going to find out about it unless you, of course, reveal it? So if you put it on there and they're looking to see if they find those gifts to relatives in the same household, then they can treat those assets as still owned by the veteran.
Okay. But anyway, the key I think that you mentioned is before you apply. So
Before you apply.
So any gifts that you make, you need to do before you start getting the paperwork that
Right.
you're going to get into Veterans Affairs.
I even tell my clients I want a completely clean statement. At the beginning of the month, the money was already gone.
Okay.
There is also another technique that I failed to mention is that a claimant can put other people on their title of their asset, and the VA will treat the asset as only proportionately owned by the claimant.
Okay.
And it's the claimant and the claimant's spouse that we're looking at all the assets of. So it's assets and income of the claimant and the claimant's spouse.
Okay. So just to let you know where we are, we probably have about 8 minutes left. So we're going to
Okay.
there's a few points that I know that you're going to want to get in here. What benefits are available?
Okay. I think we have
We have a slide.
a slide.
The next one is
I
pension
think-
with aid and attendance.
We should mention this first. The pension with aid and attendance is a supplement that to the pension program.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it's just called aid and attendance.
Okay.
And in addition to the other eligibility requirements for the pension that I mentioned before, to get the aid and attendance, you have to be either in a nursing home. You can have the need of assistance of another with the activities of daily living. That could be, of course, outside of a nursing home, or you have to be blind. And if you meet those requirements in addition to the ones for the pension, then you can get the aid and attendance supplement. This is what is so very valuable to most of my clients.
Okay.
The next slide that I have,
Okay, so let's look at the next slide, which is
pension.
pension with aid and
And
attendance,
attendance.
maximum monthly benefits.
Benefits.
Okay.
So I just pulled out a few of the numbers here. These are monthly rates, and this is the maximum. So you might not qualify for all of this if your income is not zeroed out by how we talked before. But surviving spouse who needs aid and attendance can get a maximum of $1,056 a month. A married vet with a non-vet spouse, and the non-vet spouse needs the aid and attendance, is
Okay.
in the nursing home. Then they can get $1,291. If the vet is single and he needs aid and attendance, he can get $1,644. And a married vet, where the vet needs aid and attendance, they can get $1,949.
Okay.
Two vets married to each other that both need assistance could get over $2,500 a month. So it can really make the difference
Can add up.
in paying for that assisted living or that caregiver.
Okay. How do you apply for these benefits?
Well, I have another screen that shows the
The
VA
slide.
information.
So VA information and forms
And
is the
forms.
next slide.
And you can go to these websites and that the VA has, or you can Google VA benefits, and you probably can find it. But if you go to these, you will find forms that you can fill out. You
Okay.
can also go to county veterans service organizations in California. Every county has one of these. It's a free service, and they will help you fill out the forms and submit them for you.
Okay.
You can also go to an accredited VA attorney.
Okay.
The VA itself and the county veteran service organization, none of those are going to help you with planning. They're only going to help you fill out the forms and submit an application. They're not going to tell you what you can do with your assets if you're over asset or over income.
Okay. Now, you also need, I guess, a doctor's evaluation related to this?
You do. With the application, one of the pieces of it is a medical evaluation that the doctor needs to fill out. Now, that's for aid and attendance. If you're just going for the regular pension, you don't have to have that. You just have to show your medical expenses. But for the aid and attendance, the doctor has to provide documentation that you really do need the assistance of another. I have found in making most of the applications that that's one of the hardest pieces to get right. But if you get it right and you get all of the financial information all tucked away just right, and you submit everything as a completed packet, it goes through fairly easily. Though I've heard of people who needed more things, it could go on for months and months and months. I've heard of a year and a half in some situations.
Oh, that could be really
It
tough
could be
for some
tough.
people.
My quickest one to be approved by the VA was 10 days.
That's amazing.
It was, I've never heard of anyone having it approved that fast.
Yeah. So that could be an advantage of working with an accredited attorney too, is they understand the forms. And so to make sure that everything is complete when you send it in, because otherwise if you send it in incomplete, by completing it in some other way, for example, by trying to just do it yourself, You know, if you're not familiar with forms, it's just like when you're preparing income tax returns. It's just so easy to make a mistake and you haven't filled in a blank that's required.
That's a great comparison, Michael. And, you know, but the medical form also needs to say the right things. And there's some boxes on it that if you check them the way that it seems intuitively you ought to check them, you might end up causing a massive delay in your application. So I have found that's the trickiest of the forms to get right. Of course, the doctor has to agree with what's on what we think should be on the form, because the doctor's the one that's signing it. But we almost never have a problem with that.
Okay, well, we have just a couple minutes left. Maybe you have some words of wisdom to sort of offer related to people, and particularly to veterans, maybe in general, that they're not aware, they may not have been aware of this.
They're not aware of it, and the VA isn't going to tell them about, well, they may tell them that the program exists if they go and talk to them. And you can get the rules right out of the U.S. Code. It's Title 38 of the U.S. Code, so anyone can go and look them up.
Yeah, but it's a little
get the
intimidating to
forms.
get into the laws. So.
Yeah. And there is a handbook, like a manual, that the VA representatives have to use, and that's available online as well. It's called the VA 21M-MR,
Okay.
I believe. And if you go to that, you can page through it, and you can find a lot of the examples and what they're supposed to do and what they're not. But they're never going to tell you what you can do with your assets.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to tell you what you can't do,
Mm-hmm.
and what's going to count.
Mm-hmm.
And so an attorney's job is to take those rules and figure out, okay, what can you do given these rules? And that's what planning, tax planning, benefits planning, VA planning, all of that is looking at the rules and figuring out what you can do. And that's the role of mostly it's the role of attorneys.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Janice, well, I really appreciate you bringing this information. I hope that
You're so
some
welcome.
of our viewers find this of value. Most of us at least have a family member who is a veteran, and so if you would share this information, we're going to be posting this video at our website, www.financialinsiderweekly.com. Folks, this is going to be a great benefit for some people and hopefully help your family. We hope you can join us next time on Financial Insider Weekly.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Janice.